Alright, so I don't know if you guys noticed in my last Spider-Man review, but I was swearing quite a bit, so for this review, I'm gonna try not to swear at all.
These words don't count.
Anyway, moving on with my review, I'm gonna get straight into it. The one thing that I almost immediately hated with this movie was the tension between Pete and Harry. Okay, I'm smiling, but I really hate it. It's just something that they've been building up since the first movie, and it doesn't really work for me. I really hate it. It really sucks. Like, I really hate it. I really hate it. And that first fight between them, when they're like swinging through the city and Harry's chasing him, that was not done well at all. I mean, it wasn't filmed well, it wasn't performed well, it just really sucked, along with the whole tension between them. Except for one thing. One thing that I did love is how they gave him a concussion at the end of that fight. Only for him to come back way later in the movie to just break MJ and Pete up.
What?
Yeah, I really love that. I really hated Flint Marko's story with his daughter. I hated that whole part of the movie. It wasn't acted well, it wasn't written well, it just was one of the worst parts of the movie for me personally. Didn't work for me at all. I also really hated the scene where he sort of reformed himself as like sort of like an Adam type thing. God created an Adam thing. I don't know if that's the metaphor that they were going for, but I really hated it. It sucked. It wasn't beautiful at all. Alright, one thing that I genuinely hated was this scene, I'll show it to you.
Drink plenty of water.
Thank you. Continue.
I do love how selfish the writers made Peter out to be in this movie before the symbiote even attached itself to him, before the symbiote Venom even bonded to him. He was already a selfish prick, right? Which is not out of character at all, right? Because if you think about it, they're kind of setting up the fact that he is going to be a bigger dick later in the movie, right? When he becomes like Venom or whatever. So I love how selfish they made Peter in this movie before he even bonded with the symbiote. And speaking of the symbiote, this brings me to the whole Venom part of the movie. I love this part of the movie. This dark, twisted unrest building within him. Starting to see the point of this review yet? Seriously though, putting all that sarcasm aside for a second, I do think, I'm being really serious now. I'm not fucking around anymore. Fuck! I fucked it up! I've said a swear word! Shit! Damn it! Alright, putting all that shitty sarcasm aside, how I thought this movie could have worked is with just two villains, right? Just two, right? Because this movie has three. It has Venom, a new Green Goblin being Harry, and Sandman, right? I think this movie could have worked with just two of them, right? And any two of the three of them could have worked in this movie. For example, you could have had Venom in the movie, because I know, like we all know, Sony really wanted Venom to be in this fucking movie, right? But how they could have done it is not had Sandman in it, right? The central focus of this film could have been around Harry and Pete and their tension and their fighting, right? That's what has been building up since the beginning or the end of the first movie, right? So how they could have done it is Pete, bonds with the symbiote, at first doesn't think that it's going to work out, right? But then as, the tension between Harry and Pete starts to build up and things get worse and worse, he goes to the symbiote to become stronger. And over time, he becomes Venom, right? And you don't have Eddie Brock in it. Just don't even have him in it, okay? But with Pete, he gets to a point where he beats the shit out of Harry. Like, he really fucks him up. And that's because of Venom, and Pete nearly kills him. I mean, Harry essentially is to his deathbed by this point, so they could have done that. Or, what they could have done is taken Venom out, kept Sandman back in, right? Including the whole Harry and Pete thing, right? Because that's something that, as I said, has been built up since the end of the first movie, so you can't really get rid of that. Though, if there were a fourth movie, they could have kept Harry and Pete for that movie. I don't know. Anyway, this whole thing with Pete wanting to avenge Uncle Ben could have sort of mirrored what Harry was going through with, Spider-Man and his father dying and stuff like that. So that could have worked like that. But the one consistent thing that had to stay, I guess, was the whole Harry and Pete thing. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I was rewatching Spider-Man 2 now as an adult, right? Because I didn't really appreciate it as a kid, but watching it now as adult, all these three movies, together, that scene where Harry finds the secret Green Goblin lair, right, in his father's apartment, I thought was fucking awesome. Like, that genuinely got me excited, even though I knew what was coming. So that's what I think of Spider-Man 3. I don't have much left to say. Hopefully I made this review a bit more fun and different and unique to me for you guys to enjoy. Hopefully I achieved that. Anyway, fuck, there's an even worse movie coming. Oh my gosh, I'll see you in that review.